Hello, Hushies, and welcome back to Hush Up and Listen. We are on episode 4, and we hope you guys have been enjoying all of the previous episodes. I love that each one continually builds on each other and connects with one another. So today's topic I'm really excited to talk about is seasonal shifts and how it affects the skin. So if you've ever noticed more redness in the spring, more dryness in the winter, or random flare-ups when pollen counts start to spike, you're not imagining it. It's a real thing. So we'll talk about why they happen, how seasonal shifts show up in the skin, and how to manage these symptoms without further compromising the skin. We're also going to differentiate seasonal shifts and allergic reactions, a true allergic reaction, because there is a difference between the two and how you approach treatment. And I do want to put a little note there that seasonal reactivity isn't just about weather. It's about immune response, barrier shifts, and environmental stress. So stay tuned. We also have a special guest today, and let's go ahead and get started. Now, as we know, the skin is a very complex organ. It adjusts to humidity, temperature, UV exposure, and even environmental irritants. So when seasons change, sometimes there is an adjustment period that can create instability with the skin barrier and the body in general. So, for example, cold weather tends to reduce humidity and increases transepidermal water loss. Spring typically brings pollen and airborne allergens, and summer increases UV exposure and sweat. So, all of these factors, all of these seasonal changes can stress the barrier and activate inflammatory and immune responses, especially in those with sensitive skin. So before we dive more into the topic, I do want to differentiate between seasonal sensitivity and a true allergic reaction. So seasonal sensitivity might look like mild redness, tightness, increased dryness, occasional stinging. It can happen over a period of time as you are exposed to seasonal or environmental shifts. A great example of this, I'll take my own personal experience. During the winter time, it was so dry. It was very dry in the house because we had the heat on. It was dry outside because of the cold. And so my nose was running a lot, and I would wipe my nose constantly with the tissue. And that caused my nose to have a lot of redness, a lot of irritation, stinging, especially when I tried to put any kind of product on there. So that is an example of a seasonal sensitivity. An allergic reaction, a true allergic reaction, is more of a sudden onset after exposure to a certain trigger or triggers. So allergic reactions tend to present as itching, swelling, hives, more intense inflammation. So a good example of this is when I went to Tennessee, I got exposure to poison ivy. Poison ivy is pretty common in the Tennessee area, and so I developed hives, lots of itching, lots of swelling, lots of inflammation. So I know sometimes these symptoms can overlap, but it is important to figure out the root cause of things. What is causing these sensitivities? What is causing this allergic reaction, right? So seasonal sensitivities can be very much barrier related. It can also be influenced by the environment, but a true allergic reaction is really an immune activation and response against a specific trigger or triggers. Now, with seasonal sensitivities, some of the biggest seasonal triggers include pollen, dust, sudden humidity shifts, indoor heating or air conditioning, increased sun exposure, switching out your products too quickly. And with seasonal triggers, you don't have to directly touch things to experience symptoms. So, for instance, pollen, sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes it's in the air. And the body's immune response can still create inflammation systemically. And our skin reflects that by showing up as irritation, redness, or itchiness. So we're going to expand a little bit on this more. I'm going to introduce you guys to Brooke Kennedy. And we're really just going to break down these seasonal changes and seasonal sensitivities. So, hello, Brooke.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Cloudy. I'm finally in Washington, the same space as you are, so I'm really excited to explore the whole Washington area.
Yes, welcome to Washington. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Yes, we're so happy to have you. If you can, just provide us a little bit of a background about yourself.
Thank you very much. So, yes, Brooke Kennedy. I'm a licensed master esthetician here in Washington State, and I own Sweet Bee Hair and Skin Lounge, which is located in Issaquah, Washington. And I'm very fortunate that our team is actually all trained in oncology aesthetics. So, that was one of our specialties. In addition, we offer full range of services. We're a hair salon as well, but we focus on sustainability and products that are going to protect personal health as well as the environment. And my team, my spa, we are actually newer hushies. So while I'm familiar with the line and have known Chris and the team for many years, our team has now received the education and excited to have Hail and Hush in practice.
I love that you guys have that for those that are going through those stages in their life dealing with cancer. So I just think it's so beautiful what you have going on in your space. And today we are going to be talking about allergies and seasonal flare-ups and things like that. So, what have you seen when it comes to seasonal changes and how it impacts sensitive skin?
So funny, right now I've had so many clients come in this week talking about my allergies are flaring up and pollen is circulating in the air. So of course they're kind of having the runny eyes and taking their daily dose of Zyrtec or Claritin. But I would say now that you're in Washington, are you experiencing anything with the change of environment?
So, it's really interesting. When I lived in Jersey, okay, let me backtrack a little bit actually. I lived in California for about 10 years. I basically grew up there. I had no allergies at all. I have no history of allergies. And then when I moved to New Jersey, I started developing more allergies. And, I have two dogs. I've grown up with dogs my whole life. And so it was just so weird that I started developing allergies. And, I did the whole 9 yards. Like I got an air purifier, I got a humidifier, I did allergy testing, everything came back negative, but I had like allergy symptoms. And so I still can't figure out what it was, but a lot of people are telling me mold also would have an impact.
Yes, yes.
And it's very like a silent aggressor when it comes to not just even allergies, but overall body health. But being here in Washington, I feel like the air is so fresh because in Jersey, I was living basically 15 minutes from Philly. So just a lot of pollution and stuff like that over there. So I do feel like I've cleared up a lot and I'm not as sick as much. So I'm like, I just don't know what it could be.
I know it's crazy how allergies will affect us. And like you said, a lot of things that we experience here in Washington are going to be the pollen, the dust, the mold, the grass, and the trees, pet dander. Those are going to be a lot of the allergy triggers. And then, of course, there's always going to be foods, medications, like bug bites and stings. And then just how we just talked about what we're inhaling. But I would say the biggest contributors are just those shifting temperatures, right? From winter to summer, because those are probably the biggest seasons for us here that people get affected, although it starts with spring. And then how you discussed the humidity levels. And then those environmental stressors just break down that skin's protective barrier. And then you will get to experience that, we'll have the cold air. So you have your air conditioning during the summer, and then you have your indoor heating in the winter. So yes.
Yeah, it all it all plays a role for sure. And then how would you describe the difference between seasonal sensitivities and a true allergic reaction?
I was like, I'm excited for you to chime in on this as well. But I'd say just for like the seasonal is going to be just your dry, itchy, kind of flaky skin that gets inflamed depending on the season. The summer, you're going to have more oil, which is then going to produce more breakouts. But then the winter, when it's very dry with the indoor heating, that sometimes will flare people's eczema. But then with a true allergic reaction, that's where it's going to be like more localized to that area, unless it's like obviously internally ingested through foods, medications, or whatnot. But they're just going to get the hives. They'll get swelling. There's going to be heat to that area. I know rashes and kind of just like that. They just feel like their skin is burning. So very different, like you said, from a true allergic reaction to more of like the sensitivities.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think that's why it's important when you're talking with your clients to do that initial consultation, especially to get an idea of, if they have a history of having an allergic reaction to something. And that way you can do some type of patch testing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Where do you like to do your patch testing?
I like to do it behind the ear,
That's what
around
we
the.
do as well.
Perfect. Yeah, because I know previously people like to do it on the wrist, but it's best to do it closer to the face, especially if the concern that you're trying to treat is on the face and say they're allergic to nuts, so they can't use any kind of Mandelic or anything like that, then it's best to do it in that area.
And that's why I'm so thankful for Hale and Hush because, how I said, we're a full on spa and salon. I love that you can utilize their products for many different types of services. Post hair removal, you can do enhancements of hand treatments, but the fact that they, specialize in that compromised barrier. And when we're doing ingredient review, I'm very happy that my 46-year-old eyes can see all of the ingredients clearly listed on the packaging.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a huge sucker for that too because I love to look at ingredients also, so I love that we list everything on there. If you have any clients that need that ingredient list, like they just really want to know what they're putting on their skin, which is valid, that's available for you guys as a resource to give to them. So we love being transparent here at Hale and Hush. So I love that you do that too.
Yeah, and not just a compromised barrier, line that's for reactive and sensitive skins, but now that you are the acne specialist, and you guys have some great products to deal with that, as well as I'm able to use the oncology approved products in my practice, and then post sugar and hair removal, like we talked about. And then I love how Hale and Hush was even at LashCon. So just having the options for a quiet wash is not going to affect eyelash extensions, for example.
Yeah, yeah, we're very versatile, which I love, but we still target very specific concerns, which is the cool thing about us is anyone can use us, but you can also use it for specific skin conditions or concerns.
What is your go-to, like if people are having like that allergic reaction and treatment, say you did the thorough consultation, they did that patch test before we are going to do a treatment when they come back in, like what are your go-to products to help?
Well, my go-to products would be the trifecta. So, if they are having some sort of flare up, we recommend the trifecta. That's the Quiet Wash, Hush Hydrate Gel, and Relief Bio Powder. Those are all going to help calm down any kind of inflammation, irritation, redness, any stinging or itchiness. Those three are really going to come to the rescue. And then for my first time clients, I like to do our sensitive skin protocol. So, not necessarily introducing any kind of enzymes or peels just yet, but just to really get to know the client's skin. That's typically what I start out with. What about you?
Incredible. Yep, the trifecta, back bar staple. And I love that you can dust the bio relief powder like directly on the skin, or I love that you can mix it into masks or into the creams, which is incredible as well.
Yeah, I mean Relief Bio Powder, I don't know how it hasn't gone viral. I just I mean, it's literally magic in a bottle. I love it so much. I use it all the time, especially when I get eczema around my eyelids.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yeah, that's a common thing for me in spring and winter. So that's my like seasonal flare up would be my eczema around those areas because my eyes just get so itchy and then they get dry because of the weather. That's been a lifesaver was the
Yeah,
trifecta.
that's a lot of that here in Washington. Lots of
Really?
eczema.
Oh, interesting. I wonder why.
Because it's something that can be managed, right? Because you have that response. So just really working with our clients to kind of figure out what triggers it. Because it could be food, it could be allergies, it could be stress, it could be, there's so many different factors.
Do you see that in certain seasons?
Depending on what their triggers are, it could be year round, but definitely I'd say more flare-ups just in the winter. And then also how people, as you and I know, sometimes they don't change their skincare routine for the conditions that are presenting for them. And so a lot of people are doing over exfoliation when their skin is itchy, dry, flaky, inflamed. So sometimes they think, oh, I have these flakes, I should be doing more exfoliation to get rid of them. Whereas we all know as estheticians and skincare professionals that it's all about, the addressing that compromised barrier. A first objective.
Yes, yes, first objective always. And so you mentioned people not switching up their routine. How would you recommend that people do that to kind of adjust to these transitional months?
Yes, I always say it's best if people can do a facial with change of the seasons, just because we as skincare professionals get to be their trainer and coach and guide them into educating them on ingredients for how their skin is presenting. So a lot of times you might add a more lipid rich cream, during the winter, but they're going to do, because you have your water and oil emulsions as well as your oil and water emulsion. So I feel like switching up the creams are kind of the easiest thing when transitioning from summer to winter. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's hard to know to do that on your own, right? Without your
100%.
esthetician's guidance. I think a lot of people assume that you could just use the same routine year round and it'll be fine. But you really do have a lot of changes throughout the years. A lot of times, like here it's super windy, so I feel like my face is getting a little bit of wind chafing. It's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
dry. So you really do have to adjust to those things, especially when you start noticing it. I feel like people kind of wait it out sometimes when they get these kind of seasonal allergies or flare-ups and just wait it out, see if it improves, but you do need to keep rebuilding that skin barrier.
And sometimes that can mean pulling back on the actives that everyone knows and loves, but the vitamin A's, there are times of year that it may be too much for the skin, just using a retinol as an example.
Yeah, and I feel like there is some pushback with clients when it comes to that. I don't know if you've dealt with that or if you have clients that will literally just do whatever you recommend or say. Do you have tips on how to, fight that client pushback and tell them, like, we just need to hold off on actives for now because this is the state of your skin?
I have a skin model, which helps a lot. And I think just coming from a point of education and then them trusting me as an expert. Because, like you said, there's going to be those clients that are listening to everything that you recommend and say, they're pre booking their facial treatments. But then you have some that are like, but I need my retinol, I need that vitamin A derivative, I need that cellular turnover, or I have to do the exfoliation. So I think when you're actually doing a very thorough skin analysis, when they come in, really talking to them about the cause of the conditions that are presenting and how ingredients work, then you can have, those are the best tips that I can think of. But what other tips do you suggest?
For me, I think it's also just coming from a point of education. Sometimes visuals really help for clients. I try to help them with more visual pictures of what's going on with their skin or just giving more analogies. So, say you go to the gym, you work out, and your muscles are really sore. It takes some time for your body to recover from being sore. So you want to focus on stretching, massaging, taking a little bit of that healing time, and then you can go back to the gym. So little analogies like that, I think are very impactful for a lot of clients because they don't understand skin the way that we do. Some of them didn't go to biology or
Mm-hmm.
physiology, so they don't understand sometimes what the epidermis actually is. And so we kind of have to just break it down for them, and using analogies really helps.
Absolutely. And I would even say for the people that love, like how you were saying, to get them off the retinols, and explain it to them, they can reduce it. So rather than daily use, maybe they go to a couple times a week, or maybe they're using sandwiching techniques. So we're not just fully just taking it from them. And then once they can see that improvement in their skin, then they're like, oh, she's really onto something. And then it just kind of makes them listen.
Brooke's right. I should listen to Brooke.
So that's probably a big tip as well.
Yes. And when it comes to treatment plans, how do you, as an esthetician, kind of adjust to things? Because, um, I think it's easy for us to fall into this pattern of, oh, let's do a facial, let's do a peel, let's do another peel. I guess, how do you adjust for these clients that might be going through some sort of flare-up or allergic reaction?
Yeah, I just love that everything here is completely customized. So we don't have clients necessarily selecting a specific treatment unless they're doing to do kind of more age management. But just every single time that they're coming in, what changes are you experiencing? What are your biggest skincare concerns? Doing that thorough skin analysis. Obviously coming from the education piece, like you said, and then customizing everything to that specific treatment. So we have it where we have time, right? Like, do they want a little bit of relaxation incorporated, or some of the more of the modalities that we can do? Otherwise, everything is going to be completely customized. So they don't really have a say. Like, they get to pick their time and they know that they're coming in for a treatment, but then that allows us to utilize our education, that knowledge, the ingredients to fully customize a treatment for them.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's important to know that you are the expert. They are coming to you for these treatments. So it's okay for you to say, we're going to pivot this way for today because you're dealing with X and X. So I think for the people listening that's an expert or an esthetician, like, don't be scared to tell clients that we need to do this first before we do this, because in the long run, it's going to benefit their skin rather than caving in and trying to do what they want to do.
Absolutely.
And so earlier, you did mention a little bit more of the systemic stuff, so internal inflammation and triggers and things like that. How does that typically show up on the skin, and what kinds of triggers have you seen that are pretty commonplace?
I say that systemic kind of histamine response is where they'll get the hives and the itching. The area might swell up a little bit, flushing. You can totally see that immune response. So first, letting them know, because you'll see it a lot with sugaring hair removal or waxing hair removal, especially like on the lip or chin and jaw. And you have to educate the clients from the beginning of what may happen, because as we know, as experts, it could not happen immediately. It could show up 24, right, to 48 hours later. And so if we tell them how they may address it, like if there's a little whitehead, even though we know it's called a closed comedone or pustule, if there's a little whitehead, bacteria was somehow introduced into the skin. But if it's like a little red bump, which could be like even more papule, that is that systemic response, right? So then if they can, like, obviously we're not medical professionals, but a topical antihistamine, like a hydrocortisone cream, is going to help clear it a little bit quicker, but then setting them up for success and letting them know that can happen, to please not hesitate to call, and then just kind of being able to get them in to pick up a couple of products to help. And I love putting them under red LED light as well, just kind of complimentary, because it's something that my front desk can do for them and they don't have to have like a set appointment. So as long as we set them up for what to expect, I think that that's very helpful, because again, you're not always going to see it directly post treatment on the same day.
Wait, I love that you have clients just come in and like do a little LED and then they can go on their way. That's really
Yeah, a
cool.
little bio relief powder, a little bit of
Oh
LED
my
light,
gosh. Wait,
right?
yeah. Because then they don't need like a full facial for it. They can just come in and do a little mini treatment.
Exactly. Yes. And then we have the light stem panel. So I have just some chairs so they can set up like whatever area it
Oh,
may be. Right. So
I
that's a
love
good
that.
little suggestion for all of you SDs out there.
It's like just off in the corner somewhere and you can relax there.
And it makes them feel well cared for. And again, talking about what can potentially happen before it occurs, it lets them know that you did not do a bad job, right? This was not caused by the product that was used. Like hair removal, your body considers it as trauma. We just removed the root and it reacts with that histamine response. So a lot of times we come in here, that's what I love, that we're skincare therapists in addition to sugaring specialists, because having that strong skincare knowledge and background, like they will come here and say, no one's ever told me that before, you know? But then you just really get their trust. They feel well cared for. They feel set up for success, and they're going to keep coming back and recommending you.
I think that's so cool that you guys do that. And what LED light do you like to use? Do you like to use red?
I do use red in this circumstance, you know, but then if they had like a little bit special, or like you could do a red blue combination as well. It depends. It depends on what they're presenting with.
Right. Yeah. And high frequency, do you use that
Oh my
too?
goodness. One of our favorite tools in our toolbox, right? So that again, that consultation with any service, how has your skin reacted in the past, right? You want to know about their past experiences, because if they say, I break out every single time, then yes, preemptively, we're going to break out our high frequency device and I'm going to use it on them, you know, post lip, post brows. And then facials, I feel like obviously this is more, we're talking about the hair removal services, because I feel like when we're doing that first hydrating treatment, how you were saying, and we're not automatically going into the advanced exfoliation and peels per se, we have a little bit more control, right? But when you're doing the hair removal, you don't know how their body is going to respond always from that root being removed.
Yeah, even if they've gotten wax before, sometimes different waxes can affect people, things like that.
Absolutely. But with facials, yes, with extractions or things that you're doing within that treatment, you can let them know, like an acne client, for example, that it could potentially look worse, especially that day if you're doing, you know, even if you're doing gentle extractions, like my skin just automatically swells. You know, I get some edema, redness because I have very reactive skin that shows everything. But then some people, it's kind of like they could potentially have that purging effect. But again, it's coming from a place of education and letting them know this isn't common, but it could happen, you know, because you're bringing everything up to the surface and you're using the ingredients to do so, because you're increasing that cellular turnover, you're promoting healing, you're decongesting the pores and just everything. So it's all about education, great consultations, and thorough skin analysis.
It's perfect. Everything you just said, that's literally the step-by-step method I always recommend using in the treatment room. And you did also briefly mention stress. It's amazing how much stress can really affect the body, especially during, the different seasons and with allergic reactions. Do you have tips for how you manage stress, or even to your clients, how you can help them manage their stress?
Absolutely, because managing that internal stress does help, because it's all about just stabilizing your nervous system, right? So we talk about just exercise, just giving some movement, like even if they could just go take a walk, and as we know, even 10 minutes outside and exposing yourself to that great vitamin D, um, and keeping routines, doing mindfulness. Like I even will do just kind of deep breathing, like take a deep breath just to even, you know, do a quick reset. Proper sleep is huge. And I feel like the American hustle is real, and sometimes people are not getting the adequate sleep that they need. But when we help regulate hormones like cortisol, that's often spiking during those seasonal transitions. So just whatever they can do for themselves to help with stress. I love yoga, even if it's yoga nidra, where they kind of put you like just like a deep kind of relaxing, or sound bowls. I have a lot of referral partners that I work with. I call them my power partners, so that I have those massage therapists, the naturopaths, yoga, Pilates studios. Just I'm constantly referring acupuncture, and I really do treat the individual holistically, and that whole approach, mind, body, spirit, emotions, and all of the things. But yes, managing stress, however they may do so. And it could even be like we have some masks, right, that they can purchase here. So it could be them just laying down for 20 minutes with a mask on their face and meditating, or listening to something that they enjoy, right? Just like taking that moment for them for self-care.
Yeah. And like you said, people are hustling every day. I think that we are in such a busy culture that we really don't take that time for ourselves, even if it is just that 10, 15 minutes of the day. We don't take that time to just slow down and breathe. We're just always like go, 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 it seems. It's important, even just those 10, 15 minutes. It can really make a difference with your stress levels, your cortisol levels. So I appreciate you sharing your tips, because I love yoga, I love Pilates as well. I love working out. I think that those have been really helpful for me personally when it comes to managing stress.
And sometimes people like may not have the times or the means to do so. So even for myself at the end of the day, because we work 12-hour shifts here, my team loves doing 3 12s so that they can have 4 days off. So more of a kind of like a nurse's schedule. But at the end of that day, because I can see anywhere from 10 to 17 people in one day. And so at the end, my husband is so sweet. He comes and picks me up, because I love carpooling. I do everything. I love the environment, sustainability. So then when we get home, I get 10 minutes when I'm just sitting in the car, just decompressing from my day, sitting there in silence. It's dark by the time I get home. So that way I have 2 dogs. So when I'm walking in the door, I can then have that energy to give them a proper greeting and lots of love. But even like with busy schedules, like there are things that we can do for ourselves. I've told people even at home, like they can take cold spoons and kind of treat them like a gua sha device. And I've kind of showed them. So it doesn't even have to be something that they have to necessarily invest in. If they could just lay back, relax, and just do something for themselves.
I love that. And just having that intention of like, okay, this is my moment. I'm gonna take it for myself. And I think a lot of times we see that as selfish. Especially me as like a first-time mom, sometimes I feel a little bit of guilt. I just need to go to the bathroom and like decompress for 10 minutes or something, because it's a lot to take care of a baby. And so it's not selfish. I just want people to know that, and
Yes.
it's going to help you so much more than you know, especially when it comes to your skin.
Good point. I'm glad that you shared that. How old is your baby?
He just turned 1 year.
Oh,
He's in the stage where he's crawling everywhere, picking up everything, and we're having to like chase after him basically. So that's our life 24/7 right now.
you're busy, busy, in addition to a big move, but I get you here in Washington now.
Yeah, things are finally calming down, thankfully. I've been trying to talk to Brooke for like the past few weeks, and we couldn't make it happen until now.
Which is so exciting. I'm so glad. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. We have two more questions left, two more things to talk about. So, what are 2 to 3 preventative strategies that our listeners can implement before any kind of seasonal changes so that it doesn't affect their skin too much?
I'll say you and I will do this together, but mine would be making a change to their products when necessary. And if they don't know when that is, that's why it's a perfect time to go see your esthetician for a facial. I always tell my clients the best thing would be with the change of the seasons, but like the dentist, if they can just do it twice a year and kind of going with the seasons, like a summer and a winter. So we're able to customize and change their routine for them. Also, how you had mentioned a humidifier. That can be great when needed. Sometimes people don't think about that. Or an air purifier, how you would mention that as well. And then cut back on exfoliation if necessary. So if your skin is screaming because it's dry or itchy or flaky or inflamed, you can over exfoliate.
Yeah. I mean, those are actually about the three I would recommend.
Yeah, and year-round SPF, because here in
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
we have high rates of skin cancer because people think with it being gloomy, right, and a little bit dark, and we only have a few nice months per year, like UVA, which are those aging rays, they penetrate through the clouds, they penetrate through glass. So you do need to still wear SPF.
And I would say if you guys don't have a Brooke in your area that doesn't offer like a little mini LED treatment, maybe invest in an LED face mask at home or some sort of LED panel so that you can treat yourself at home as well during these seasonal shifts.
Absolutely. Which ones do you recommend? I even said them too for the home devices, like Soluma has some great ones just because they're really good about, the clinical studies, the education, but they do have some nice home device. I have a little travel device from them. So I always send my clients those links.
Yes, Lightstim has a great handheld one.
Yes,
I
they
think they
do.
just came out with a mask. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me look actually.
Ooh, yeah. I was like, let's look. I do know though, and I haven't tried it yet, but did you hear Linder Health just came out with a mask?
Oh no.
And I love them as a company because, again, they're all about not contributing to tons of inflammation with their advanced exfoliation and peels, but they did just release a mask. So you and I are going to have to check that out.
That's exciting.
But I love Lightstem. Lightstem's
Yeah.
incredible. Made in the US, based in California. Great team, amazing education. So if they did have a little home device that Kristen's checking out right now, we would highly recommend them too.
Yes. I don't know where I saw it, but I will have to look back at that.
But at least we gave them other suggestions too.
Yes, Lightstim, please come out with a face mask.
Yeah, and it's just because people, like you said, we retail that handheld here, but sometimes people just don't want to hold it and do their treatment, although it is good for them and it's super simple and it beeps when it's time to move on the face. So my clients do receive great results. They have the red device or they have the blue handheld device. But Saluma is going to give them hands-free. You and I will look into the specifics of the Linder Health mask because people will ask us, like, oh, I purchased this one from Amazon. And I was like, LED is a whole nother topic. That would be another amazing podcast episode for you guys because it has to do with the number of LEDs and the wavelengths. Like, not all LEDs are created equally.
Exactly. 100%.
So I was like, I can't speak to the devices that they come in and say, well, this one from Amazon, just because there's a lot that goes into it.
Right. Yeah. And also just like durability too. I feel like my handheld has lasted me over 5 years. And, I've obviously taken very good care of it, but I've bought some things from Amazon that have broken down within a year or two, and it's just like I'm having to invest over and over again when I could have just bought one device and it lasts me for a long time.
Yeah, that Lightstem handheld is absolutely incredible.
I know you have to leave soon, but I want to hear more about your background because you're a master esthetician, so like what all goes into that?
Oh yeah, now that you're here in Washington State. So we have the licensed esthetician and then they have a master aesthetics program. So the master is going to be where you're able to perform the medium depth peels as well as receiving all of the laser education. And I just love knowledge and wanted to learn. So in Washington, you do have to have a medical director in order to perform those services. So you should go in, that medical director should be performing the initial consultation, whether the estheticians can then perform, the IPL, the BBL, the Aerolays, the laser treatments, or any of the medium depth peels. So that's how it works here, because I know that you were in New York before. And then I went, and there's so many amazing oncology programs out there. So Oncology Spa Solutions, I've done Oncology Training International, Holly Brown, look Good Feel Fab, she's launching one. So just to be able to get that knowledge, because I've had thyroid cancer, cervical cancer, and bouts of skin cancer actually. So it's just been something, like, even I was oncology trained before going through all that, but it's just had made such a difference in our practice, and has truly just been incredible for being a part of people's journeys who are undergoing cancer treatments.
Well, I'm so glad you're doing well now. I'm sorry you had to
Oh,
go through all
thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
But it just makes me an even better skincare therapist, right?
Yeah. You know what to look for. You can, connect with the client even more.
And
So,
that's another one of my referral partners, having a great dermatologist to be able to refer people to
yes.
get their
Oh my
annual skin
God.
checks. Because a lot of people don't even realize that they should be, like, I had a client in today, sent her over to Skin Surgery Center because she hasn't done skin checks, and people just don't realize it or think about it.
Right. They think they're invincible.
I know. And we do get, like, what is it? 80% of the sun damage we're going to have later in life happens by the time I'm 18 years old.
Mm-hmm. And I'm 31 now, but I'm noticing freckles just popping up here and there, some moles and stuff that I've never had before. So your body really does change and adjust over the years.
Absolutely. So having a great dermatologist in your back pocket that can do those skin checks for our clients. And then we kind of are that first line of defense. Like, I have found, and I can't say anything. I just said, hey, because again, I stay within my scope of practice. So, like, I'm not a medical professional. However, I am noticing a spot. Do you see a dermatologist at least once a year? And as I say, yes, when's the last time that you've been in? And then I actually have a derm light, and I take a picture of that,
Uh,
the lesion, and tell them where it is. And then I email it to them so they can share that with their provider when they go in. And so I have caught melanomas, basal cell carcinoma, like, just noticing, because we just get so familiar with our clients, right? So if something's not healing or it's a little bit scaly, and again, you're going to have solar keratosis, actinic keratosis. One of my doctors was like, what is this? She's like, it's an old lady spot. I'm like, oh gosh. I'm like, can we call it something different than that, please?
love your network. I love your referral system. It's just the amount of support that you give to your clients, that's unmatched, and I'm sure they really appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel very, very fortunate to be able to practice holistically by, again, staying within my scope, but then having this amazing network of professionals. And that is why I was able to win the Skin Games Holistic category 3 years in a row, because of my referral network, right?
Congratulations.
Oh,
That's
thanks. I was like, that
amazing.
was years ago because I've judged the last 3 years, but it was fun. And it was just, and then you have to kind of keep up guessing, right? Because I have so many people within my network
Yeah. Yeah.
that just making sure you change up the case studies.
Yeah. Just keep building on it.
Exactly.
Brooke, do you have any last words? Any little bit of advice for anyone, especially during any kind of seasonal flare-ups? Anyone dealing with allergic reactions?
One, I was just going to say, definitely, I just want people to know how important that facial is, right? Because not only is it for relaxation, like, we are able to just truly help that individual come up with a great routine, right? And you're not going to get all the information from the influencers on TikTok and social media. Like, we are here, we study skin, we love building relationships, we love helping people, and we have a great knowledge. So even if someone can just get a facial one time per year, I think that they would be absolutely ecstatic. And then from a professional standpoint, for all the estheticians listening, just making sure that they feel comfortable with their skin analysis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes all the difference because kind of going back to our conversation we just had about referring people out. I had one client where she always just had this flaky spot in the middle of her nose, and she always thought it was like eczema or psoriasis. And I told her, I'd love for you to see a derm after looking at your skin, doing a skin analysis, looking at all of your history. I'd love for you to go see a derm because to me, this doesn't look like eczema or psoriasis. It looks like something else potentially. Turns out it was seborrheic dermatitis. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's just Making sure you're paying attention to the client's skin, how they're coming in every single time, the differences, because a lot can change in 4 weeks when you see them again.
Absolutely.
So yeah, skin analysis is absolutely number one. You have to know what you're doing for sure.
And then that's one of the many reasons, like there are so many reasons why we have partnered with Hale and Hush, but the amount of education that you all provide, there are constant opportunities for us to partake in wonderful education. And you guys bring on other people as well, like Dr. Erin Madigan Fleck, who we all absolutely adore and appreciate. But I think just always, because if you're not growing and learning, then you're dying, right? So constantly investing in yourself. And you all make it so affordable as well, right? From complimentary to a low fee. I really appreciate Helen Hush's education. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to just share more knowledge, empower people, and improve people's lives through skincare. That's what we're here for. So thank you for all your support.
Of course. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, it was so nice talking to you. I feel like I could talk to you forever.
Well, now that you're in Washington, we will connect.
Yes.
I'm going to make it over to Whidbey.
Yes. And I'll make it over to you. I want to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come in for a treatment.
Yes.
I'll treat you.
Oh, yes. I would love that so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. I will talk to you later. Have fun with your client, and thanks for being a guest on our podcast.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty.
Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. I love having guests on these episodes because I love picking people's brains, getting to know more about what they know in the industry. So back to the topic, managing seasonal sensitivities really isn't about doing more. We don't need more this, more that. It's about doing less in a very strategic manner. So key strategies include simplifying your routine during transitional periods. My spring routine is so different from my winter routine. So different. And obviously it depends on the environment where you live. Honestly, I have never experienced allergies until I moved to New Jersey and had my son. So there is a little bit of an immune response there to my environment and then also my body's immune system. So everyone is so very different. Some other key strategies include prioritizing barrier repair, right? That's, I feel like, a topic that's been throughout each episode, and reducing exfoliation temporarily. We need to use calming anti-inflammatory ingredients, which we offer here at Hale and Hush. We need to support hydration levels, and sometimes we need to have restraint. We need to have patience with our skin, right? So me, for instance, sometimes we want to push the skin, keep pushing it so that we can get results, but sometimes we have to know when to pull back on things and when to give the skin time to heal. So with seasonal shifts, definitely focus on gentle cleansing as much as you can. So for instance, I talked about my nose when I had a lot of irritation during the winter because my nose was so runny. Instead of using my cleanser with mandelic acid, I opted for Quiet Wash, which was more gentle, especially around my nasal area. And then you want to also focus on lipid replenishment, inflammation control, and avoiding unnecessary irritants. So sometimes during the spring, I will wear a mask, especially if I'm vacuuming, cleaning, working with chemicals, dusting. I will wear a mask to avoid getting further exposure to those irritants. So seasonal flare-ups and changes are absolutely normal. The skin reacting to them is normal. Will everyone experience this? No, but it is important to recognize the difference between seasonal sensitivity and a true allergic response, and responding more with support of the skin. So thank you again for listening to today's episode of Hush Up and Listen. I hope you learned a little bit more about how to differentiate between seasonal sensitivities and true allergic reactions. And of course, we're going to continue building on this conversation. Next month, we're going to be talking about how to elevate sensitive skin treatments with smart tools. Thank you again for all your support. We really, truly appreciate you guys. And if you found this episode helpful, please share it to a friend, a colleague, a family member. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach us. Just contact us at www.halandhush.com or call our office number. Thanks again, and we'll see you in May. Bye, Hushies!